SADC. He is also expected to hold bilateral engagements with the presidents of Egypt and Zambia, as well as the Prime Minister of Ethiopia.
And now the Communications Organization of Workers Union is calling for a tripartite meeting with employers and the government to forge a way forward on how to cushion workers on the new Social Health Authority deductions, which they say have raided workers' pay slips following its implementation. Speaking in Nairobi, COTU Assistant Secretary General Benson Okwaro called on the government to deduct SHA and house levy from basic salary and not from gross salary, as it will be the only solution since SRC has blocked further salary increment through CBA negotiations. Salaried workers are reeling from the implementation of the SHA deductions after transitioning from NHIF, with deductions set at 2.75% of the gross pay.
What is astonishing in this country, particularly during this Kenya Kwanza government, is that they have found it easier to get taxes out of the working class, which in my view is a little bit punitive. The government, the employers, through the tripartite arrangement, must meet today and confront this issue of taxation and find out how we can make our employees comfortable. As it were today, the employees are going through untold problems and something needs to be done. My suggestion is that we must get a conference where the workers, the employers and the government sit together and find out how we solve this issue of taxation. As it is today, the workers are affected badly.
Elsewhere, 4 public servants accused of using fake academic certificates to secure employment have been arrested by detectives from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. The suspects will be charged with, among others, forgery, are scheduled to be arraigned at the Milimani Anti-Corruption Court later today. EACC spokesperson Eric Ngumbi, confirming the arrests, emphasized they will continue to crack down on those forging academic certificates. Those arrested include Edna Bitange, Assistant Election Officer at IEBC Mark Sandui Chebitwe, an employee at the Commission on Revenue Allocation Francis Njiru Mfundi, an employee of the Micro and Small Enterprises Authority, and Brenda Nelly Sulungai, a Community Development Assistant at Nairobi City Water and Sewerage Company. The government will collaborate with the private sector to save especially the vulnerable in the society.
Major challenges from droughts to disasters, providing vital support for Kenyans in need and building resilience for the future. Your presence in the 35 counties has addressed the needs of children and empowered them to thrive. Congratulations.
My passion is that every child, when you give hope, you don't know who they'll become. And when that child's world is changed, that child will participate one day in shaping the world.
We want a child who is to be in school should be in school and remain in school and progress age appropriately.
Beautiful. The ones that are slightly taller can sit on the end.
And now liquor traders across the country have been challenged to strictly adhere to the established regulations on the sale and consumption of alcohol as the festive season approaches, in a forum that brought together stakeholders in the sector under the umbrella of the Metropolitan Small and Medium Liquor Association in Nairobi County. Representatives from the Nairobi County government additionally challenged the traders to step up measures to curb noise pollution, particularly in clubs located within residential areas. At the same time, the Performing and Audiovisual Rights Society of Kenya pledged to revise tariffs on the vendors to ease the undue financial strain on their operational costs.
We encourage all the nightclub proprietors to establish in CBD. Then industrial area is zoned. Part of Westlands is zoned around Sarit Center, Thika Road, Ngong Road. So those are the only areas that are zoned for nightclubs where they can play music, but where the decibels, the sound pressure is controlled around 115. But when we come to other residential areas, we will know none of the residential areas in Nairobi has been zoned for nightclubs.
We encourage all members to adhere to these standards, ensuring that our businesses not only thrive but also contribute positively to the community.
A proposed draft tariff has already been issued and it has already been shared with the stakeholder through the chairman, through Melta, and I'm very sure the organization is going to share with its members so that they can put together comments in terms of, suggestions on how we can structure our tariffs as the sole collective management organization for 2025-2027.
Some health matters now. Homa Bay County held its second best practices conference aimed at evaluating effective health tools utilized over the past year and enhancing service delivery. The event, themed leveraging on universal health coverage, attracted delegates from various health facilities across Nyanza region. The meeting provided a platform for peer-to-peer learning, allowing participants to exchange insights and strategies that have proven successful in their respective areas. The attendees also had the opportunity to gain knowledge about ongoing developments in the global health sector, fostering a broader understanding of international health trends.
You have partners that have connections at the global level. You have opportunities to also engage and see what is now happening in the health sector globally. What are the new things? What is the evidence? What are the things that we need to consider? What are things that have been tried elsewhere and worked? So that then we can see, is this something we're able to adapt for Homa Bay? We also quickly having conversations with the national level, quickly bringing in what are the things you're seeing in Homa Bay, for example, and how does that inform our national policy, guidelines and standards, so that then when you're talking about things that the country needs to do, or even the adaptation of those global documents, it's like you're also seeing, hey, you have experience and you know how it works in this country.
Still on that health bit, the country is currently grappling with 27.4% cases of teenage pregnancies among girls aged between 15 and 18 years. According to a situational analysis report released on Thursday by education lobby group FAWE, Kenya, Narok, Kajiado and Turkana counties have the highest prevalence rates with 43.3, 35.6 and 34.2% respectively. The report has further revealed that Garissa County leads in incidences of child marriages at 43%, followed by Turkana at 38% and Nairobi at 22%. The report recommends implementation of the programs aimed at encouraging school-going girls to speak out against the vices.
Some of the key findings from the situational analysis report is that teenage pregnancy is still alarming in the 20 counties that we are working in. And currently we have actually realized that the report brought out the fact that the statistics are quite high as compared to the national KDS statistics, which is at 19%. And this means that 1 in every 5 girls are still getting pregnant, and 1 is still a large number within our advocacy work in respect to reducing teenage pregnancies.
Kwamba Kajiado County imekuwa county ya kwanza kuweka policies kwa sheria ya anti-FGM, na sasa hivi ni kutelekeza zile sheria ambazo tayari tumeshaweka, na county zingine pia wanaiga county yetu.
The pressing issue of teenage pregnancies.
Residents of Mwingi in Kitui County have been urged to take cancer screening tests for early detection of any signs of cancer. Speaking during a cancer screening exercise in the county, medics highlighted the importance of the test, stressing that early diagnosis and treatment will significantly reduce cancer-related deaths. The free cancer screening is part of a cancer awareness campaign during the Cancer Awareness Month.
Tumekuwa tukipata wagonjwa ambao after screening tumeona ya kwamba they are suffering from cancer, na tukaona kwa kuwa huu mwezi ni mwezi wa kuelimisha wananchi kuhusu cancer, we take this initiative ya kuelimisha na kuangalia wagonjwa and the community at large.
Tungependa tuwafunze wagonjwa wetu na the community at large, ili hata wao wakiwa nyumbani, wakiwa pale kazini, wakielezewa hayo mambo katika hospitali, angalau wana msingi wanaelewa.
Chania Girls High School in Thika, Kiambu County has been renamed to MP Shah Chania Girls High School in honor of the founder MP Shah. The change reflects a renewed partnership aimed at improving the school's infrastructure and educational needs of that particular school. The school is also set to benefit from a borehole project by the Kenya Defence Forces to address the persistent water shortage.
This school used to be MP Shah Community School. After independence, it became Chania High School, and then in 1999, the school split and we were at Chania Girls High School.
I'm very grateful that the community has changed the name of the school back, and I hope that that stands as an inspiration for people to try and contribute to their communities.
The Open University of Kenya, the country's first fully online university, has received a commendation from the National Assembly Committee of Education 1 year after its establishment, expressing satisfaction with the institution's growth. Although the university, led by Vice-Chancellor Elijah Omwenga, had initially aimed to enroll 6,700 students by the end of the year, it has managed to enroll 3,600. The committee also encouraged the university to expand its reach to remote areas and the wider East African region.
In our interaction, which has taken us better part of this morning, I want to say that as Education Committee, I want to thank the Chairman Council and the university management led by the Vice Chancellor for the efforts that they have put in.
We started with 7 flagship programs, among them data science, cybersecurity, and postgraduate diploma in leadership and accountability. Those programs attracted students and we enrolled us from January this year. After going through various processes of establishing a university, setting up the governance structure, establishing the various instruments required, the policies, and getting approvals that's required from our regulatory authorities.
And now in Nakuru County, a section of youths are urging the government to reopen Keroche breweries, claiming its closure has led to massive joblessness. The brewer, which was closed on June 14th this year for failing to meet government guidelines, rendered over 400 direct employees jobless. Led by Njoroge Njuhi, the youth have urged the government to strike a deal with the company to allow it to reopen. They have also faulted the government on the handling of the matter.
Kutoka Keroche ifungwe, tumehangaika sana kama vijana. Keroche ilikuwa ina support hata talent hapa nje, mpira, waigizaji, na sasa hakuna vitu kama hizo. Tungependa badala serikali itafutie watu kazi ng'ambo, itufungulie Keroche kwanza, tupunguze watu wa kwenda ng'ambo.
Mimi nimekuwa dereva wa Keroche kwa miaka 3 na naumia sana kutoka Keroche ifungwe. Sina kazi, sina njia ya kulisha familia, watoto wangu wanaumia nyumbani. Naomba serikali iweze kuzingatia ama kureconsider hii jambo la Keroche kufunguliwa tena. Manake Keroche ilikuwa ina employ watu wengi directly and indirectly.
Vijana hoye! Hoye! Vijana hoye! Hoye! Keroche ifunguliwe!
Now, very quickly, we turn the crack to Milimani Law Court, where the High Court is set to make a ruling this afternoon on whether to vacate or extend the conservatory orders. Our very own Ruth Wamboi has been there for us. Wamboi, what are we likely to see from the courts this afternoon?
Good afternoon, Doreen Arange. We are coming to you live from Milimani's High Court, whereby you understand today is a D-Day. A make it ruling is set to be heard from 2:30 p.m. for the impeached Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. You understand that Rigathi Gachagua had gone to the Court of Appeal on Monday to seek orders that the bench is not properly constituted and that the DCJ, Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu, add in law by impaneling the bench to hear the matter. The matter was, as Gachagua went to the Court of Appeal, he set the matter as urgent. But the bench at the Court of Appeal, led by Justice Patrick Kiage, George Odunga, and Agri Muchelule, scheduled the matter this morning. The matter has been heard this morning, and the bench has given a ruling at exactly 12:30 p.m. and it has declined Gachagua's bid to have this ruling at 2:30 p.m. not be heard. Remember, Gachagua wanted all the proceedings here at the High Court handled by this bench led by Justice Eric Ogola, Anthony Murima, and Frida Mugambi be stopped. But the Court of Appeal has declined that bid, and now we are waiting at 2:30 p.m. for the bench led by Justice Eric Ogola to come and give its ruling. Remember, the ruling is about setting aside the conservatory orders that had been issued by a Kerugoya Law Court by Justice Richard Mwongo. Justice Richard Mwongo gave Gachagua a temporary relief to stop the impeachment until the case is heard and determined. But the D-Day is this 2:30 p.m. when this bench will give a ruling on whether it is setting aside those orders or it is staying the orders. So remember, just for the benefit of our viewers, if this 3-judge bench this afternoon sets aside the orders, then tomorrow we will have a new deputy president, who is Kithure Kindiki, to be sworn in. Remember, if the orders are set aside, remember the new deputy president is supposed to be sworn in between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. So even if the orders are set aside this afternoon, Kindiki cannot be sworn in. We'll have to wait for tomorrow, Friday, for him to be sworn in. But if this bench this afternoon decides that it is going to stay the conservatory orders, then Gachagua's case will have to be listened and determined. Until when it's determined is when we will have in a new deputy president. So those are some of the issues that we are waiting for them to unfold this afternoon from this High Court at Milimani. Back to you, Doreen Arange, for other news for our viewers.
Thank you very much, Ruth Wamboi, our very own Wamboi there, who has been on this matter since it moved from the August House to the courts there. A number of issues have been developing here and there, but today afternoon, 2:30 p.m. to be very specific, is the D-Day, as she says, a deal break there for impeached Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua to see whether the courts will extend or vacate the orders. Back to studio to our news this afternoon, and now the Law Society of Kenya, Kiambu chapter, has launched a week of free legal service aiming to create awareness on the legal matters. The initiative, inaugurated at Kiambu Law Courts, saw residents access free consultations and advice on cases. Judge Abigail Mshila emphasized a majority of cases were straightforward and could be resolved in a timely manner with proper guidance.
Ile term ya quick one wakili, it can be used this week. Quick one wakili, free of charge. We'd expect free legal services. Basically, we're going to have so many advocates flocking in and out of our stations to answer all the questions we have on legal issues.
And now Kunumbi residents in challenge to adopt modern mangrove restoration and preservation methods for sustainability. This was the clarion call during a sensitization meeting by Research Institute in collaboration with Wetlands International. According to Kenya Forest and environmental stakeholders, mangroves are critical habitats for marine species and provide breeding grounds for fish. They are sources of honey, hence the need to preserve them.
Hii misitu ya mikoko ambayo katika hektari kama 37,000 lakini kwa hii management plan tuko na hektia tu hektia kama ambazo ni muhimu sana katika uchumi wa sehemu hii.
Tumetoa mpangilio mpya ambao tunaita National Mangrove ambao itasaidia jamii sio ya Mkunubi tu lakini Kenya nzima, mwongozo bora ya kuweza kuregesha mikoko kwa maeneo ambayo yameathirika.
Tumekuwa tukitegemea enzi na vile pia ni njia ya mapato, tunauza hiyo miti, na sasa tumesema hii rasilimali ni jukumu letu sisi kama jamii kusimama kidete.
Human rights organizations in Mombasa are calling on the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution in the county to review cases brought before the courts in a bid to ensure only substantial evidence is presented. The lobby groups claim the move will reduce the burden of cumbersome judicial processes and resource wastage. Speaking after the acquittal of 14 individuals by the Mombasa Law Court who were arrested during post-election protests led by opposition leader Raila Odinga last year due to insufficient evidence, the organization led by Zedekiah Adika commended the court's decision and emphasized the need for the ODPP to adopt a more selective approach to charges brought to court. He said the overburdening the judicial system with cases lacking strong evidence not only wastes court's time, but also subjects individuals to undue stress, extended legal processes, and significant financial costs.
Office of the Prosecutor in Mombasa, they should act to sieve what is relevant to the court that does not take court's time and what should not fall, what should fall in court that will save court's time and will add value to resources that we pay through our taxes to the state. So it is therefore important that the prosecution process in Mombasa reach a level where the rule of law is maintained. Some of these people slept in remand for some time before they got their bail terms, and we think that is an abuse of process that must not be repeated.
Leo hao waliachiliwa na koti na hakuna hata process iliendelea pale kotini, hakuna trial, haikwenda fully. Na hii inaonekana kuwa watu wanatumia koti vibaya.
hususan DPP lazima pia amakinike na kazi yake. DPP ndio ana prefer charges na yeye ana please polisi tu na kudump watu kotini. Hii ni kutumia resources za nchi vibaya, hii ni kuumiza watu, na hii ni kugadhabisha watu, na hatutakubali sisi kama watetezi wake za kibinadamu masuala haya, polisi kutumika na DPP kutumika ofisi zao kuumiza watu ambao wamejitoa kisheria kufanya maandamano ambapo ni haki yao ya kikatiba.
All right, time for me to now press pause on this live broadcast. We recall with plenty more, including that conversation on credit access and digital financing.
Hello, kids.
Hey, guys.
Hey, everybody. Are you ready for fun? Huh? We have an amazing package just for you. Akili. Ubongo.
Ubongo kids. Ubongo kids.
Big minds.
That is confusion. I am who I am.
Travelers.
I can travel to wherever I want.
Robocars. And engine.
No more pollution, you know what I mean.
Oh, those little geniuses. The Children's Corner. Saturday mornings this holiday season only on KBC. That's right! Say bye-bye to FOMO, the fear of missing out, by downloading the KBC Online app that gives you access to everything you love. Get the latest news, sports, music, entertainment news, live TV, live radio, and so much more at the palm of your hands. To get the app, simply search KBC Mobile Digital app in your Google Play or App Store and download the app. Catch what you want, anytime, anywhere. Stay connected. Stay ahead with KBC Mobile Digital app.
Sile. Don't just speak because mdomo imenyamaza na unataka ioge. Ni nani utaiona amekufa sababu ya kuwa na pesa mingi?
You are going on a transfer.
Hey, Farah, let me tell you something. I will teach your sons in this school before I ever go for any transfer.
Guy Kinanzi, you are going to be a mambuzu.
As for you, Farah, I will find a way of dealing with you.
Julia. Yani, getting married is the only good news that you know.
Nebosire, it is good being happy for others.
And when will others be happy for you?
So, Malimo, do you agree that money is the root of all evil?
Money is the foundation of all the finer things you need in life. Hiyo ingine yote ni propaganda.
Welcome back. And now the International Monetary Fund has loaned Kenya 78 billion shillings under the Extended Fund Facility and Extended Credit Facility. The approval of the loan by the IMF board follows conclusion of the 7th and 8th reviews by a team from the lender.
The Extended Fund Facility and Extended Credit Facility were first approved in April 2021, and a review under the Resilience and Sustainability Facility arrangement approved in July 2023. The Extended Fund Facility and Extended Credit Facility arrangements aim to support Kenya's program to address debt vulnerabilities while safeguarding resources for priority social and developmental needs, build resilience to shocks, improve governance and transparency, and support broader economic reforms. In addition, the Resilience and Sustainability Facility targets to reinforce Kenya's efforts to address climate-related challenges and catalyze further private climate finance. After the latest review by a team from the IMF, the lender has approved the immediate disbursement of a total of 78 billion shillings. These comprises 62.5 billion shillings under the Extended Fund Facility and Extended Credit Facility, and another 15.5 billion shillings under the Resilience and Sustainability Facility. This now pushes up the total cash approved by the IMF to Kenya under the Extended Fund Facility and extended credit facility to 465 billion shillings. Under the Resilience and Sustainability Facility, the IMF has approved a total of 93 billion shillings for disbursement to Kenya. IMF First Deputy Managing Director Gita Gopinath says, and I quote, "The Central Bank of Kenya's decisive actions have supported price stability and external sustainability, including through institutional changes to improve the functioning of the monetary policy, operational framework, and the money and foreign exchange markets. Exchange rate flexibility is vital to improve resilience to external shocks and competitiveness." End of quote. Frederick Mwoki for Lunchtime News.
Right now, we shift focus to our conversation this afternoon, where we center our focus on credit access and digital financing. My guest is already on set, Kennedy Osore, Head of External Affairs at Tala, Kenya. Karibu sana, Kennedy.
Thank you for having me.
You said this is your first time in KBC studios.
My very first time at KBC.
How is your experience?
Studios. So far, so good. Very warm people. I'm glad to be here.
Good. Now, let's just very quickly move to this discussion. I mean, digital financing looks like to be the order of the day. I mean, we would say it is easy to access, it is affordable. But even as we gear towards the festive season, talk to me about some of those credit trends that you've seen, or borrowing trends that you've seen as we head over to this festive season.
We've actually conducted a survey just to check in with our customers so as to determine the kind of trends we are seeing. And it's interesting to note that at this particular, at least for the last 6 months, a lot of our customers have been feeling the effects of inflation. And this has particularly affected when they are accessing basic goods and services. However, we've also noted that despite that pinch that they are feeling, 80% of our customers are still confident that they are able to repay. And looking at that trend, and particularly moving into the holiday season, we expect, of course, there'll be a surge in borrowing just to cater for some of these expenses. And a lot of our customers are also borrowing to cater for things like education. I know right now kids are back at home, so it might shift more towards around personal emergencies, catering for groceries, catering for stock supplies, because we have customers who actually borrow to buy stock for their businesses. So we expect a surge, given that during this period there's also a lot of consumerism in the market. So a lot of these trends are going to be seen as we move into the festive season.
You've said that a majority from the survey you've conducted, that a good number of those customers borrow for groceries, paying of school fees, running over day-to-day activities, and that you're confident 80% of them are able to repay. Now, one would assume that when you borrow, basically, oftentimes it's for business, because a good number of times it will inject some profit, then you can be able to repay your loan. So if this is what a majority is borrowing for, how confident are you that then repayments will be made?
Maybe another interesting statistic I need to point out from the survey is that we actually noted around 51% of the respondents that gave us their response on that survey, they borrow to start or to continue their side businesses. So what we've seen is that, especially looking at the macroeconomic factors at the moment, there's a lot of strain, and even the inflation that I was pointing out. So a lot of people are experiencing income gaps, and they want to supplement their income. So the big thing we are seeing as a trend is people are borrowing to push through their side businesses. And ideally, if you're pushing through your side business, then it means you want to cover that gap that you have. So in as much as there's also a trend, particularly because these are festive season, where we'll see a lot of it going more of the consuming side, but the trend over the past 6 months has been we are borrowing so that we are able to run our side businesses. So this festive season may be a bit of a different, because it's a different season, but the trend over time has been a lot of borrowing goes towards side businesses. And this is not necessarily just to your kawaida mama mboga. It's even, we've seen a trend where even salaried people, because of the income gaps that they're feeling and the shocks that are in the economy, they tend to have side hustles. And sometimes this money comes in for them to probably, if you have an example where you have a small, maybe you have a boda that you've put on the road, and you need probably 2,000 to fuel for a week as he runs around his business, you put that on the side. So we'll still see those two trends in as much as we are moving into the festive season, but a lot of also this borrowing goes into side businesses.
And I'd like you to elucidate that myth further, because then it's oftentimes come off as a myth that for Kenyans who are employed and are salaried, they don't borrow. This is just for any other Kenyan who perhaps is jobless. And that's oftentimes what we think. From what you've gathered, even as you look at digital financing, how do those numbers look like? And is that really the case?
So actually, it's something that needs to be debunked. I think the idea that people think when you only speak of a side business, or a business for that matter for an SME, will be probably your kibanda there. And then, but because of the reasons we are seeing around the strain on our incomes, because of inflation and other macroeconomic factors, a lot of even salaried people are thinking beyond just the paycheck that they get, because clearly these cannot sustain them throughout. So they're asking themselves, what other things can we do on the side? Maybe not directly themselves, they might have put somebody to just run that business for them, or it's something they're monitoring as they get flexibility within their day or the time that they have. So we are seeing a lot of that trend, and we are seeing even some of our good borrowers and repairs are actually guys who are able then to know that I have certain income that I expect at this point in time. Yes. So I will borrow to fill this gap and cater for that side hustle, and then once the money comes in, I repay.
So it's safe to say we are all borrowers.
We're actually all borrowers, and what we say at Tala is that we push for that responsible lending, so that, and a lot of financial literacy then has to go into it, because you don't just borrow for the sake of it. You borrow because you have a laid out plan and you know you can arrange your finances. And we actually help our customers, because part of the thing we are big at is beyond just extending financial credit, credit for that matter, and enhancing financial inclusion, is how do we push for financial literacy and financial health.
Just hold it there. Before we move to that bit of financial literacy, let me just backtrace a bit and stick on that debunking the myths, because then we have had conversations that when you look at the gender sector, women are more prone to borrowing than their male counterparts, as well as youths. Is that the case? If so, why?
We've actually done also some other different reports. So we have something called the Money Match report that we release in March. And we also have like an impact report that just goes to assess what is the level of impact in terms of how we extend credit, and what are the trends we are seeing even in the different categories of our borrowers. So as you've mentioned, we've actually realized that women are some of our good borrowers and repairs. And a lot of this trend is driven by the fact that in most households, women are the house managers. So they'll be very keen to see if we borrow for purposes of, for example, maybe stocking supplies in the house, then I have to arrange in a way that I know I'll be able to repay, because I'll need to do probably a similar thing the next time around. So they are more prudent in how they manage their finances. And this has gone even into how they do the side businesses. So if you think of your Mama Mboga there who's borrowing, they'll be very clear that I need, let's say, around 5,000 bob to stock up for the next 3 days. I've calculated how long it takes for me to probably sell off my stock. And then, because I have determined which date I need to pay back my loan, then I've put all that together. So we've actually seen that particular trend, specifically now focusing on women and how their trends in terms of borrowing and repayment.
So it's actually they borrow, there's a reason to that.
There is.
All right, let's make progress in this discussion and talk about the financial literacy, and more so in this festive season, because earlier on you had talked about we would largely see a good number of borrowings going towards the consumer side. But then how significant is it for financial literacy to be, how would I put it? How just important is it for this for Kenyans, for majority even of these borrowers to understand, to get that financial literacy, so that then they would even know if they're borrowing is for what purpose? And if you've done any kind of financial literacy, what has been the uptake?
So financial literacy, as you put it, is actually very critical in managing particularly personal finances. This could be even how you probably use it for your small business, or even in terms of the consumer aspect around this season that we are going into. So what we've doubled down as Tala is actually within our app we have a learning center that we've put in quite a bit of material just around how to manage your personal finances. And it's very tailored, because over time we've understood who our customers are and the kind of different activities they use when we extend credit to them. So we've put that into place, and they're able to access and then just interact and be able to manage their finances. Beyond that, we have a very dedicated customer support team that you can reach out to, and they'll be able to take you through even when you want a one-on-one, for them to just break it down to you, like if this is what you are doing and this is the credit you are asking for, how then do you manage in a way responsibly that you are able to then repay.
All right, Kennedy, we now want to wrap up this discussion, but I feel like it would be a disservice of me to finish it without asking this question. That we've seen this digital financial institutions really on the rise. What is this significant gap they are bridging that your traditional form of financing was not giving you? As we conclude,
there's an interesting statistic actually that indicates that there's a credit gap of around $300 billion globally for a segment that has traditionally not been served by traditional institutions like banks. And reasons for this, and it even goes back to why as pioneers in the sector we started digital lending, is because we realized there's a gap where, because of the kind of data you have to provide. Think of it like the way you went to a bank and you had to seek a loan. You had to go with a stack of documents just to indicate who you are, for them to know you, to assess your creditworthiness. They would ask you for your pay slips and whatnot. But there's a segment that was in the informal side of things that could not provide some of this formal documentation, but there still was a need for them to access credit to improve and better their lives. So that particular segment is still growing. The gap to be filled is still there. There's need to address it, and that's why you see there's a lot of credit providers still in the market, because there's still a whole pie to be serviced. But the idea here is not to just service credit for the sake of it, is to actually get to a point where we personalize it and you are able to meet the unique needs of particular customers, because then it becomes a more financial healthy way of going about it.
Okay, I hear you. Thank you very much, Kennedy, for your time, however much short it has been, but then you've gotten some 2 or 3 nuggets of wisdom there, especially financial literacy is concerned as we head over to the festive season. That has been Kennedy Osore, the head of external affairs at Tala, Kenya, just talking to us about credit awareness as well as digital financing, even as we head over to this festive season. We now continue with our broadcast, still on matters business, and the number of cyber attacks targeting digitized government services has hit 1.7 billion threats. Director Cybersecurity in the Ministry of Information, Communication and Digital Economy, Eunice Omar, says plans are underway to train over 20 million Kenyans. Omar made the remarks at the ongoing Information Systems Audit and Control Association ISACA conference on governance, risk and compliance.
And government services have already been onboarded, and they can be accessed online. And quite a number of digital hubs have been put up across the country, as well as the digital hotspots and Wi-Fi's. So the government is in the process of achieving. I think by 2027, we'll have achieved the targets within the better manifesto. With the digitization or the digitalization of government services, comes with it the aspect of enlightening both the citizens and the government.
Digital currencies or digital technologies such as blockchain. So we are here to discuss basically how we can, as well as advance and innovate, but at the same time also protect our organizations and protect our country in the confines of the space where we're able to operate within the regulatory frameworks.
Livestock keepers have been urged to vaccinate their animals during the short rains to reduce incidences of anthrax. Hadija Chepkorir, a veterinary epidemiologist at the Zoonotic Disease Unit, says the bacterial disease is rampant during the rainy season, with surveillance mapping out 9 counties that are at risk of losing animals due to anthrax.
Kenya was among 5 countries in the East and Southern Africa that had anthrax outbreaks last year. There were 3 human deaths and 1,100 cases of anthrax infections in animals reported in Kenya in 2023, up from 200 cases in 2022. To reduce incidences of anthrax in the country, the government is urging farmers to vaccinate their animals twice a year before the short and the long rains when the disease is prevalent.
For the community, we want to communicate that risk so that they avoid some of the practices that they undertake that puts them at risk of getting the disease from the animals, and also making us not be able to prevent and contain the disease.
9 counties have been mapped out as potential hotspots during the current short rains, with farmers advised to report incidences to relevant authorities and avoid slaughtering and consuming sickly animal products.
The main issue has been how counties do their vaccination, especially the counties that name by those endemic counties. For example, if Murang'a is doing vaccination, we expect Kiambu to be doing the same. We expect Nyeri to be doing the same.
The Food and Agricultural Organization says it has released 11 million shillings to heighten surveillance and enhance communication.
For this particular support, which is a technical cooperation program between the Food and Agriculture Organization and the country, we are mainly supporting the anthrax disease surveillance through finalization of the anthrax surveillance guidelines to enhance timely detection and reporting to inform response to anthrax outbreaks.
Farmers have been encouraged to ensure their high-value animals to minimize losses that could occur during the outbreak.
It is important that all farmers take, including not just for cattle, even for other livestock, it's important that they take up the livestock insurance.
And now the government is calling for greater collaboration from countries of East, Central and Southern Africa that will aid in developing a unified strategy dedicated to monitoring and containing locusts in their breeding areas. Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture and Livestock Development, Dr. Andrew Karanja, says this will work by ensuring efforts made by countries are made towards safeguarding their boundaries, allowing for integration of the threat of invasive species into national emergency response plan.
While the desert locust swarms of 2019 to 2021 may have been brought under control, experts warn that the threat is far from over. Resultantly, the formation of a broad strategy on invasive species is needed, focusing on, among others, assessment of invasion pathways and strengthening of quarantine and border security.
We take upon ourselves to reach out to neighboring countries to encourage them to join and become the organization members. It is far relatively cost-effective to contain these migratory pests collectively as a region, and hence the importance of joining the regional organization and being fully supportive of the organization operations.
Karanja says climate change is a key driver in the breeding and spreading of migratory pests. In 2023-22 financial year, my ministry controlled 10 roots of Querea birds, which were approximately 20 million of them. All these complex migratory pests negatively impact on our national food security and pulls back our efforts towards attainment of sustainable development goals on zero hunger and poverty reduction. He says plans are underway to create effective communication avenues that contain information on pesticide management and pesticide storage facilities. Enhancing national technical capacity in migratory pest management through regional trainings, workshops, webinars and conferences. Ndutamo Kami for Lunchtime News.
Moving on, Kenya should take decisive action against rising emissions by prioritizing low-carbon technologies, particularly through the adoption of electric vehicles. Environment and Climate Change Cabinet Secretary Adan Duale is concerned that the national greenhouse gas emissions from the transport sector is likely to increase from the current 10% to 17% by 2030 if no action is taken.
This initiative will substantially reduce the transportation sector emissions, helping us achieve our national climate targets. Electric vehicles also offer financial relief for our taxi drivers, who often struggle with limited access to conventional banking service, by providing affordable, sustainable level and sustainable fleet.
I decided to go with taxi because 80% of Nairobi population uses public vehicles. That is matatu, buses and taxis. I mean, all of us, at one time or the other, we've taken a taxi. And for us to make it effective, we need safer, comfortable, efficient, and clean environments. Countries like Mauritius, countries like Ghana, our neighbor Ethiopia have zero-rated these vehicles. You go to Ethiopia right now, most of the taxis are actually electric vehicles, and they're very comfortable there, right? But in Kenya, we still have a lot of taxis. We are paying them the same as we're paying second-hand vehicles.
Time for some sporting action now. And Football Kenya Federation presidential candidate Hussein Mohammed says he is determined to improve football at the grassroots if elected. If elected in the FKF national election set to be held on the 7th of December this year. Hussein, who was speaking during a football symposium which brought together football leaders from Uasin Gishu, Elgeyo Marakwet and Nandi regions, said if elected he will work together with county government in a bid to uplift the standards of football in the country. Hussein and former Harambee Stars international McDonald Mariga have been on a charm offensive campaign across the regions to drum support for the joint ticket.
Are very committed with my team to ensure that we go back to the grassroots. We support football right from mashinani level. There is a requirement, of course, for heavy infrastructure investment and support from different partners or stakeholders. And I think all those partners are waiting to see a credible face, people with integrity, people with who have been transparent in their dealings, people who are reputable. Who can take it to that level. So that is the only way we will be able to basically achieve our goals and build grassroots football. Devolution has played a very key role, of course, in development of other sectors in this country. And sports is a devolved function, considering that every county government now has a chief executive officer and a CEC for that particular sector. It only means that it is for us to engage and for us to find the working relationship and collaborations with the respective counties to be able to achieve what it is that we intend to do.
North Korea DPR qualified to the finals of the FIFA Under-17 Women World Cup after defeating USA 1-0 in the semi-finals. The two teams met earlier in the group phase where USA lost 1-0 to North Korea and will face off either Spain or England in the finals.
It's away by King. And the shot is fired in from distance from Roh Eun-hyang. 17 Women's World.
Tottenham Hotspur overcame rivals Manchester City 2-1 in the round of 16 of the Carabao Cup as Manchester United thrashed Leicester City 5-2 while Chelsea lost 2-0 to Newcastle United. Liverpool beat Brighton and Hove Albion 3-2 and Arsenal beat Preston North End 3-0. Right now, that story puts a cap on what you had lined up for you this Thursday afternoon. But remember, our eyes are trained on the High Court this afternoon as you wait for the 3-judge bench ruling led by Justice Eric Ogola on the conservatory orders, whether to extend or vacate those specific orders. That is our main focus this afternoon. Nonetheless, we put a cap on the live broadcast this afternoon. This has been Lunchtime News. I'm Doreen Arange. Lensa Odingo has been our sign language interpreter. Good afternoon.
Welcome to the Kenya Deposit Insurance Corporation, or KDIC, a state corporation established under the KDI Act Cap 487C. But who exactly are we? KDIC provides a deposit insurance for customers of member institutions. KDIC. Safer, stronger together.
Are you a holder of unclaimed financial assets? All holders are notified to report and surrender unclaimed financial assets to the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority, UFAA, on or before November 1st, 2024. It is now easier to report and surrender. Visit www.ufaa.go.ke and get started to beat the November 1st deadline. It's your turn. Report and surrender today. Please note that failure to report and surrender qualifying unclaimed financial assets attract penalties and sanctions in line with Section 33 of the UFA Act 2011. UFAA. Receive, safeguard, reunite.
Hello and welcome to the program. My name is Marie Yambo. Our social media handles at Marie Yambo, at KBC Channel 1 on X, KBC Channel 1 TV on Facebook. We are also on YouTube. Coming up in the program, Kenya records more Mpox cases.
We have upped our surveillance, we have upped our screening, and we pray that there is no transportation of the same that will get into our country.
And the Ministry of Health, PS Mary Mudhoni, assures the country that all measures have been put in place to deal with any outbreaks of Mpox. And on Good Practice, we answer some of your questions on Mpox. So let's talk about Mpox and whether we should be worried. Since early this year, cases of Mpox, formerly called monkeypox, have been confirmed in the Democratic Republic of Congo. But now, 18 countries, including Kenya, have reported the disease. Kenya has so far reported 13 cases as of October the 14th, 2024. The disease has now spread far and beyond the African continent, with Sweden, Pakistan, and the Philippines recording 1 case each, and the numbers are likely to increase. Mpox is a zoonotic disease, meaning it can be passed from animals to humans. It was first identified in 1958 in lab monkeys in Denmark. But monkeys aren't the main carriers of the virus.
It's not only monkeys that are reservoirs of Mpox. There are many other animals, mostly wild animals. So you will find it in rodents, particularly the rats, sometimes in a few rabbits here and there. There are animals called hares, especially very forested areas. The animals that are found in some of these forested areas are some of the reservoirs of this virus.
There are two strains of the virus: the Democratic Republic of Congo strain, which has a mortality rate of 11%, and the West African strain, which is less severe and has a mortality rate of 1%. Evidence, according to Africa Center for Disease Control and Prevention, that is CDC, suggests that the current outbreak is linked to the strain in the DR Congo.
Where the epicenter of where this specific variant is circulating, that's in certain areas of the DR Congo. Those are very crowded areas. In fact, some of them are, can I say, conflict zones. So they are very, very, very concentrated.
Although Mpox can be passed from animals to humans through handling or consuming an infected animal, what is happening this time round is that it's being driven largely by human-to-human transmission.
The mode of transmission that time was mostly discovered to be sexual. But now, over time, as the mutations kept going, there are other modes of transmission that are now being seen. So things like, skin-to-skin contact with someone who's been infected, close contact with droplets, behavior such as kissing, and then also in pregnancy, a woman who is infected can easily transmit through placental transmission to the unborn fetus. So it's now become a very multifaceted transmission cycle, and it's no longer the traditional animal to human that we thought about. So now there's but it's mostly close contact.
So how does Mpox spread between humans? Although Mpox can be sexually transmitted, you can also get it indirectly by sharing clothes, such as bed sheets or towels that have been contaminated. It can also be transmitted through respiratory droplets from an infected person's cough or sneezes. If you get it, some of the first symptoms will present like the flu, body aches, fever, coughs, and then some rash on the body that can form blisters. People with strong immunity recover from Mpox on their own in 2 to about 4 weeks, but it can also be serious for those with weak immunity or immunosuppressed people.
For others who may not have very intact immune systems, for example, children, or people who live with HIV with very depressed immune systems, or people on very heavy drugs that are used to treat them but keeping their immune system low, those are the people who might have a bit of issues with regards to clearance of the infection. So they might have lesions for much, much longer, even up to 3 to 4 weeks.
The World Health Organization declared Mpox a public health emergency of international concern. What that means is that countries around the world are expected to allocate resources and institute preventive measures with the help of the WHO to deal with any outbreaks.
Also allows countries that may have certain technologies that may help in preventing or in controlling to start thinking of ways of how this can be scaled up, especially to regions where Mpox has become a problem. So that may mean availing, diagnostics. That may entail availing potential medications, and then figuring out who may benefit from those medications, because there are not so many. So not everyone with Mpox will get those medicines. So they need to start coming up with tools on who might get this treatment. So algorithms may need to be built by the various ministries of health, and then potentially now also encouraging the manufacturing companies of these vaccines to now start ramping up production of these vaccines.
The Ministry of Health Principal Secretary for Public Health, Mary Muthoni, has warned that although the numbers being reported in the country are low, each person must take personal responsibility to protect themselves and their families. Keep in mind, there's still no known treatment for Mpox, but a vaccine developed to fight smallpox can be effective since Mpox is from the same family of viruses with smallpox. There are other methods of infection control that are similar to those deployed during COVID-19, like contact tracing, testing, and quarantine. So what to keep in mind is that Mpox is not just sexually transmitted, but you can also get it through close contact and sharing of clothing. So far, Kenya has recorded 13 cases as of the 14th of October 2024. And so we asked Kenyans what they know about Mpox. Let's listen in to Words on the Streets.
Nimesikia tu hata watu wanasema hii kitu inakaa kama corona bwana, lakini kwa media ndio nimesikia. Sasa tunashuku kitu kinakaa kama corona. Wakiona kitu yenye sio kawaida, you have to visit the hospital. Yeah. For proper check-up. Unless yenyewe pesa iko shida, lakini lazima uende hospitali ipatikane kama hiyo shida ama ni nini.
Yeah, I've heard of Mpox. It is an airborne disease. You can get it through body contact. Mtu ambaye akunayo ukimkaribia unaweza pata hiyo ugonjwa.
About the Mpox, I've heard it's come from Congo. Na tujui sasa vile imeingia hapa na measurements the health vile wanachukua, they've not even had anything. So ikianza kama corona, I think we'll be in trouble again. I myself currently know, but I do not even know anything about it. So I think I should do more even research myself. But even the government should do more research and give us the public announcements bana. Tuambie kila saa during programs, like the way they're doing for corona. At least they be telling us, updating what are the symptoms, how it comes, all that.
I know Mpox is a viral disease. When a person when a person who has Mpox touches some surfaces and then another person touches, she gets infected.
Mpox nimesikia so far, but so far there's nobody I've come across that has really been affected by this disease. But the way according to the media, I've come to understand that it's a very deadly disease. Once it attacks someone, that person will be seriously bedridden, and the consequences thereafter, it is very dire. What the government has to do right now, it has to come out with a clear guideline on how to sensitize the masses on about the disease, because most of people, they don't know actually the really cause of the disease and what precautions they have to actually to take into account.
Clearly, still a lot of public awareness to be done to ensure people know how to protect themselves in as far as Mpox is concerned. On that note, we take a break, but I'll be back with much more, including an interview with the Principal Secretary for Public Health, Mary Muthoni. You do not want to miss it. Thank you for staying with us. We are now joined by the Principal Secretary for Public Health, that is Mary Muthoni, and she'll be talking more about the Mpox cases in the country. But we'd also like to let you know that this interview was recorded earlier before the Mpox cases increased, and so the numbers may vary. Let's listen in. Thank you so much, Principal Secretary, for allowing us to come and talk to you and just, elaborate for us what is happening as far as the Mpox is concerned. WHO declared, Mpox public health, emergency. And that means that as member countries, Kenya included, there are measures that have to be put in place now. So probably you could tell us what measures have been put in place in terms of, can I say, health workers? Do we have isolation centers the way we used to have them during COVID? And probably even as you talk about that, you could touch on maybe counties, how your ministry is now working with the counties to ensure that we are, prepared.
So